I caught my wife cheating, but what she was really hiding broke me even more. You ever had one of those moments where time just stops? Like everything around you is still moving, cars honking, people talking, life happening, but in your mind, it's just silence. Nothing. That was me the day I saw that text. Now, before I get into it, let me back up for a second. I'm Mike, just your average guy. I work construction, been doing it since I was 20. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and for the past 7 years, I've been married to my wife, Brianna. Everyone calls her Brie. She's got this smile that could stop traffic, and when I first met her, I swore she was out of my league. We met at a friend's barbecue. Classic story, right? She was sipping sweet tea, laughing with her friends, and I was just the quiet dude holding a plate of ribs trying not to sweat through my shirt. But somehow we clicked. She was smart, funny, had that kind of energy that made you feel like the sun was shining even when it wasn't. Fast forward a few years, we got married. Small ceremony, nothing fancy. Just family, friends, and a lot of homemade cornbread. We got a modest house on the east side, a rescue dog named Jax, and for a while, man, life was good. But the thing about good is you never really notice when it starts turning bad. It's slow, sneaky, like rot under fresh paint. I started picking up on small things. You know how people always say, trust your gut? Well, mine was screaming, but I kept telling myself I was being paranoid. Bree started staying out later. Said she was working late or meeting her girls. And hey, I wanted to trust her. I did trust her. Until the night I picked up her phone by accident. We have the same phone model. It was sitting on the kitchen counter, buzzing like crazy, and I thought it was mine. I picked it up to silence it, habit, But the screen lit up with a message that made my stomach drop. I miss you already. Last night was unreal, face blowing a kiss. I stood there frozen, the hum of the fridge sounding like a freight train in my ears. The message was from a number that wasn't saved. Just some random digits. But the words, the emoji, that was not a message you send to a friend. Bree came into the kitchen a minute later, saw me holding her phone, and froze. What are you doing? She asked, her voice tighter than a noose. I didn't even know what to say. I held the phone up and asked, who's this? She looked at the screen, then looked at me, and lied to my face. Oh, that's just one of the girls from work. We went out for drinks last night. She's just being stupid, but something in her tone was off. I could feel it. I knew her. And this wasn't just my gut anymore. This was something real. Something I could see in her eyes. Fear. I didn't press her right then. I wish I had. Instead, I just nodded and handed her the phone. She walked away too fast, like she was escaping. And me? I just stood there, feeling like the floor had cracked open beneath me. That night, I barely slept. My mind was racing, connecting, so I didn't even know we're there. The late nights. The coldness in her voice lately. How she'd started showering right when she got home, every time. So the next day, I did something I never thought I'd do. I installed a GPS tracker on her car. Yeah, I know how that sounds. Creepy even. But I needed to know. I had to know if I was going crazy, or if my wife, the woman I gave everything to, was lying to me. The day after that, I waited. I didn't say a word. I kissed her goodbye in the morning, watched her drive off, and checked the app on my phone. She went to work. Normal. Then came Friday. She said she was meeting her friend Kayla for drinks downtown. But the GPS, it showed her car parked outside a motel 30 minutes away. Not a bar. Not a restaurant. Damn motel. I sat in my truck, staring at that on the screen, heart pounding like a war drum. I told myself it could be anything. Maybe she was helping someone. Maybe her friend had an emergency. Maybe. But I knew. And that's when I made the decision. I was going to drive there. I was going to look this betrayal in the eye. But when I got there, man, I thought the cheating was the worst part. Turns out, I hadn't even scratched the surface. I swear, the drive to that motel felt longer than any road trip I've ever taken. My hands were gripping the wheel so tight, my knuckles went white. Every scenario, every horrible possibility was running through my head like a damn movie reel. I wasn't just mad, I was numb. Like my body was moving on its own, but my mind hadn't caught up. When I pulled into the motel lot, I parked across from her car. It was just sitting there, plain as day. I recognized the little scratch on the bumper from when she clipped a mailbox last year. She told me it was no big deal, and I laughed it off. Funny how things that felt small back then suddenly feel huge now. I waited for a second. I needed to breathe. Then I stepped out and walked to the front office. The clerk was this skinny teenager with acne and earbuds in. I asked him if he'd seen a woman, mid-30s, brown hair, about 5 feet 6 inches, check in recently with a man. I wasn't expecting much, maybe a brush off. But he glanced up, looked me dead in the eyes, and said, "Room 214. Just like that. I don't know if he felt sorry for me or just didn't care. Either way, my stomach flipped. That number burned into my brain. 214. Like a code to everything I didn't want to believe. I climbed the stairs slowly, 2 at a time at first, then 1. Then I stopped. I was outside the door. I could hear muffled voices inside. A laugh, hers. And then I froze. Not because I was scared. Not because I wasn't ready to face her. But because I recognized his voice. I couldn't place it right away. Just a tone. A chuckle. Something familiar. But it hit me like a train. It was my friend. No, more than a friend. My best friend. Derek. We've known each other since high school. Played ball together. Grew up a few streets apart. He was the best man at my wedding. I remember how he smiled in those pictures. The toast he gave about how Mike and Bree are the real deal and how I was like a brother to him. That same guy was on the other side of that door with my wife. My hand balled into a fist before I could think. I knocked. Silence. Then footsteps. Quick ones. Whispering. Panic. The door cracked open an inch, and there she was. Bree. Her face went white. Like every ounce of color just drained out. "Mike," she whispered. I didn't say anything. I just looked past her, and there he was, standing behind her in a wrinkled shirt, hair messed up, eyes wide like a deer in headlights. "Wow," I said. That's all I could get out. "Wow." Derek stepped forward, trying to say something. Probably to explain, maybe even lie, but I wasn't having it. "You," I said, looking right at him. "You of all people." He opened his mouth, but I walked away. I couldn't listen. Not yet. Not there. I drove home in silence. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just shut down, like someone unplugged me from the world. She didn't come home that night. Neither did he. The next day, she showed up with some weak apology, and it just happened, and I didn't mean for you to find out this way. That last part, that's what really killed me. She wasn't sorry she did it. She was sorry I found out. But here's the part that'll mess you up, and I still don't even know how to say it. After she left, I sat on the couch, just staring at the wall. Then I remembered something. A few weeks ago, I got a letter. One of those generic white envelopes with no return address. I almost tossed it, but something made me keep it. I dug through my drawer and found it. I opened it again, hands shaking. Inside was a single photo. No note, no words, just a picture. It was Bree, in a parking lot, hugging Derek. Not a casual hug, one of those hugs, the kind you give someone you're in love with. And behind him, a little boy. He looked about 5 or 6. Curly hair, skin tone like mine, but I'd never seen him before in my life. At first I thought maybe it was Derek's kid, but the more I stare at that photo, the more something in my gut twisted. Because that little boy had my eyes. I must have stared at that photo for an hour. At first, I thought maybe my brain was playing tricks on me. Maybe I just wanted to see myself in that kid. But the longer I looked, the more I couldn't deny it. Same eye shape, same color, even the same little crease under the left one when he smiled. I couldn't explain it. I never met this boy, Bree, and I never had kids. We tried, but she said she wasn't ready. Said she wanted to focus on her career first. I believed her. But here I was, holding a photo of a little boy standing next to my wife, hugging my best friend, and looking like me. I had questions. A million of them. But I wasn't going to get answers sitting on the couch like some heartbroken idiot. So I did what any man with a brain full of chaos would do. I started digging. First, I called Derek's ex. Yeah, he had one. Her name's Tanya. They broke up years ago, but they shared a kid, a daughter. I hadn't talked to her in forever, but when she answered and heard my voice, she was quiet, like she knew why I was calling. Tanya, I said, trying to sound calm, do you know if Derek has a son? She hesitated. Mike, why are you asking? Because I got a photo of him with Bree and a kid I've never seen. A boy. He looked a lot like me. There was a long pause. I could hear her breathing on the other end. Then she finally said something that made the floor drop out from under me. I don't know much, she said, but I remember one time. Derek told me Bree got pregnant. Years ago. Said it wasn't the right time and they handled it. I didn't ask questions, but maybe they didn't. I hung up. I couldn't think. Couldn't breathe. My heart was pounding so loud. I could hear it in my ears. I needed to know the truth. I couldn't rely on rumors or gut feelings anymore. I needed something solid. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I called Bree. She picked up on the second ring. Her voice was soft, tired, like she'd been crying. Mike, I need to ask you something, I said. No anger in my voice, just cold, flat. Is that boy in the photo your son? There was silence, just dead air. Then a shaky breath. Yes, I felt something in me crack, like a tree finally giving in during a storm. How old is he? I asked. She hesitated again. 6 years. I did the math. We were still married, still sleeping in the same bed, still sharing birthday cakes and Netflix accounts and holiday dinners with my family, while she was out there having a baby with him. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. My voice was shaking now. Why keep this a secret for so long? She sniffled. Because I didn't know if he was yours or Derek's. I found out I was pregnant right after I made a mistake. And I panicked. I didn't want to ruin everything. I didn't want to lose you. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So you just let me live in the dark. Let me think we couldn't have kids while you were raising my son behind my back. I wasn't raising him, she said quickly. I gave him up for adoption. It was closed. Nobody was supposed to know. But I kept tabs. I checked in from a distance. Derek helped sometimes. That's what you saw in the photo. I just couldn't let him go completely. I felt sick. You gave away my kid without even telling me he existed? Mike, please, she whispered. I didn't know how to fix it. I was scared. I hung up. I couldn't listen to her excuses anymore. But now I had something I didn't before, a purpose. That boy, whoever he was, might be mine. And if he was, I wasn't going to let him grow up thinking he was unwanted. Because I wanted him. And no matter what lies Bree told, I was going to find him. The next morning, I woke up with one goal on my mind. Find out if that boy was mine. I didn't care what Bree said anymore. I didn't care about her tears, her excuses, her "I was scared" lines. I'd wasted too many years already, building a life on top of a lie. But if there was even a chance that this kid was my son, I needed to know. So I called a lawyer. Explaining the situation out loud felt surreal, like I was retelling someone else's nightmare. The attorney paused for a moment, then asked me the question I knew was coming. Do you want to pursue a paternity test? Yes. Without hesitation. He explained the process. Said it would be tricky since the adoption was closed, but not impossible. If the child is in the state system, he told me, you have certain rights if paternity can be established. But first, we need to prove you're the biological father. And that meant going back to the source of the storm, Bree. I showed up at her apartment, and she looked surprised to see me. Mike, she said, eyes red and puffy. I didn't think. I need a DNA test. I cut in. For the boy. Her face went pale. You really think you're the father? I don't know, I said. And that's the problem. You've lied to me for years. I can't trust your word. I need the truth. To my surprise, she didn't argue. She nodded slowly, went inside, and came back with something that nearly knocked the breath out of me. A brown envelope. Inside, a copy of the original hospital records from the birth, a photo of the baby, and a birth certificate. No father listed. I kept these, she said quietly, in case I ever worked up the courage to tell you. Or in case he wanted to find you one day. I took the envelope and left. I didn't say a word. It took about 2 weeks to get everything tested. Swabs, paperwork, court filings. Every day I was checking my phone like a man waiting for a life or death call. And then it came. I remember standing in the middle of the kitchen when the lawyer's number popped up. I answered. My hands were trembling. Mike, he said, you might want to sit down. I didn't. I stood there frozen, listening to the words that would change my life. The boy is yours. 3 words. That's all it took. I dropped into a chair like someone had cut the strings holding me up. A rush of emotions hit me all at once. Shock, anger, heartbreak, but above all that, joy. Joy because I wasn't crazy. Joy because I had a son. My own flesh and blood. He was real, and he was out there. I asked where he was. The lawyer said the adoption records were sealed, but they'd been able to find a lead, a private agency in the city that had handled the placement. The boy's adoptive parents lived in the suburbs. Nice neighborhood. Good schools. They'd named him Caleb. Caleb. The name hit me like a punch to the chest. That was the name I wanted to give my first kid. I didn't know whether to smile or cry. They told me the adoptive parents were contacted through proper channels and informed that the biological father had come forward. They agreed to a supervised meeting. I was going to meet him. My son. The day of the visit, I wore a button-up shirt. Dumb, I know. I kept wondering if I should bring a toy or snacks or something. What do you bring to your kid the first time you meet him at age 6? When I walked into that room, I felt like my heart might explode. And there he was, sitting at a little table, coloring. Brown curls, big curious eyes. My eyes. The adoptive mom stood nearby. She looked nervous, protective. But when she looked at me, she didn't seem angry, just unsure. I nodded at her respectfully. Then I turned to Caleb. Hi, I said, kneeling down. He looked up at me, tilting his head. Hi, I'm Mike, I said. It's really nice to meet you. He gave a shy smile and went back to coloring. After a second, he slid the paper across the table toward me. It was a picture of a house, a sunny sky, a man with a beard standing next to a little boy. Is that you? I asked, pointing. He nodded. And who's that next to you? He looked at me and said something I'll never forget for the rest of my life. I don't know, but I draw him a lot.